Good morning and welcome to the final webinar in this year's Digital Construction Summit, brought to you by the CIOB, Revizto, Trimble Viewpoint, Construction Manager and BIM+. Our theme today is enhancing communication and collaboration with technology in association with Revizto. Our speakers today are Russell Baker, Senior BIM Manager at Kier Construction Western and Wales. His colleague, Jonathan Walters, Senior BIM Coordinator at Kier Construction Western and Wales. And from Revizto, we've got Rhys Lewis, Director, and Lewis Guy, VDC Implementation Manager. I'm Justin Stanton, Editor of BIM+, and I'll be your chair this morning. This session starts with the following statement: using technology to enhance communication and collaboration is not just between not just between site and office, but also between different parties in a project team, is a choice that built environment professionals can ill afford to ignore. Are you making the most of it? Our four speakers from Kier and Revizto will share their best practice. After the presentations, there will be a Q&A session. A bit of housekeeping before we go any further. Please use the Q&A function rather than the chat function to ask questions during presentations. You can pose a question as yourself or anonymously. Panelists may try to answer questions using the Q&A function during the sessions, and we'll address all questions at the end as well. This webinar will be available on demand via the original registration link, and you can use the hashtag DCS2021 to share on social media. So that's enough of the housekeeping. Let's kick off. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and Rhys, can you please share yours?
I can indeed. Let me know when you can see that, Justin.
That's fine. Yep.
Let's just switch these around. Perfect. Is that still okay?
Perfect.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for the introduction, Justin. Firstly, from me, thank you for having us. We're still proud to be a partner of this event with Justin and his team at the Digital Construction Summit 2021. So firstly, teas and coffees at the ready. We've got quite a show for you today. I'm joined by my colleagues and our partner Kier to talk to you around the topic really around enhancing communication and collaboration with technology. What I really wanted to do firstly is just set the scene a little bit, if you leave me, to talk about a number of the challenges we see when we're engaged with industry today. So the challenge I see and Lewis sees, and we've discovered with Kier, is really around this sort of multi-threaded approach to how we communicate and collaborate on construction projects throughout the whole process of the life cycle of a building or an infrastructure asset being designed and constructed. So think about this yourselves, I suppose, for a little bit, is if you are reviewing 2D information and 3D information, a lot of the time they are in different technologies, which don't necessarily speak to one another. To do that, you need a communication tool. So there we have three. You have a 2D viewing platform, a 3D viewer, a communication tool, and a range of tracking tools as well to really understand what is going on as we're starting to communicate tasks, challenges, issues, and the likes during a live project. When we get into the more technical review, then we're doing things like clash detection, which again opens up another format of how we then distribute those clashes. Is that a report or yet another file format? So when we get into the detail, a lot of these communication streams aren't interconnected as they could or should be. So we find there's a lot of time wasted trying to stitch all of this information together. Context switching, which is a challenge in fairness across industries. I'm not here today to beat up the construction industry because it's an industry I'm very proud to be part of. However, if you look at that graphic on the right-hand side, you know, if you are or your project teams unnecessarily are jumping between different applications on a daily basis, then they aren't working as efficiently as they could be, or their productivity output could be better. And really, that's what the whole ethos of Revizto is around. We brought a tool to construction to address this challenge, or these challenges, head on. So with our integrated collaboration platform, we can review all project information in one place. That's lightweight and very, very user-friendly, firstly. And there are two words I just want to throw out there that sort of close to what we do, and that's interoperability and usability. So we support a wide range of file formats at 2D and 3D. And for somebody like myself, I can start to review IFCs, microstation files, PDFs, point clouds, and start to communicate in real time on a tablet without having to be a technical user of some of the tools I've just mentioned, and monitor what's going on through that project, through design, construction, and more now into operation, which we're actually working with a lot of Russell and John's clients from Kier, where they're now embracing the power of Revizto for the operational phase. So really, I just wanted to set the scene there a little bit to talk about the challenges we see in industry and how Revizto has developed a technology to help solve those. And I think that probably moves us quite nicely onto a practical use case to Russell and John at Kier Construction. So with that, I'll stop sharing, and okay, I'll hand the baton to Russ, I guess, if that's okay.
Yep, thanks, Rhys. Yep, Russell, if you want to share your screen.
Hi there, I hope you can hear me.
You're fine, yep.
Rhys, yeah, we're going to share the screen. Just give us a shout when we're ready.
Yeah, that looks fine. You may want to go to slide presentation.
Just gone on.
Oh, you've got a split screen.
Sorry. Okay.
You click on display settings at the top, Russ. That'll won't spoil the surprise for what's coming next. So yeah, there we go. Duplicate slideshow. That's what I did, and we'll just see the one.
There we go. Perfect.
We on?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, lovely.
Okay. Apologies for that. Okay, I'll just start off with a little introduction of ourselves, give you a very brief overview of what we are doing at Kier, and then I'll go on to one of our projects that we've deployed Revizto within the Wales region, and how we have enhanced our collaboration between our internal Kier team and our design team members. I'm Russell Baker, Senior BIM Manager for Western and Wales region, covering the whole of the Wales, Bristol, Devon and Cornwall, Gloucester and Oxford region. At Kier, we then have BIM coordinators in each region, and John, who is sat next to me and going to give a little presentation in a minute, he's our regional senior BIM coordinator. This setup is then replicated around the 5 other regions within Kier. Myself and John have come from an architectural background before moving to the dark side of the contractor world. Just over a year ago, Kier implemented their digital transformation program known as Digital by Default. We aim to modernize and consolidate our technology use, reviewing the whole of our software estate, which included our EDMS, model validation tools, field tools, digital capture of site progress, etc. During this period, we also took the opportunity to rework our template resource, referencing guidance from the UK BIM framework, which helped achieve our ISO 19650 kite mark back in July. Our review also looked at collaboration software to bring drawings and models into a cloud-based platform in a managed environment. And Revizto was the first software that we launched as part of our Digital by Default program. Within this review, data residency was an important issue to Kier, as UK hosting is required on our more sensitive projects for the MOJ, MOD, etc. And I think this UK hosting was a first for Revizto as well, which I'm sure Rhys can confirm a bit later. Okay, let's go on to one of our projects. In the Wales region, we decided to dive in at the deep end and have implemented Revizto on a £65 million school project for Cardiff City Council. The school will provide state-of-the-art facilities for approximately 1,500 pupils with nearly 100 classrooms and an 1,800-seat multifunction hall. The building will also have a 4-lane, 25-metre swimming pool and has 4 very high-quality sports pitches. The school is scheduled for completion in the 22-23 academic year. All of the design team and subcontractors have embraced the implementation of Revizto, with their models scheduled to automatically upload it into the Revizto platform on a fortnightly basis. The main file format that is being exported into Revizto is Revit and IFC. It was also very important to Kier that the design team to release their sheet files together with their models. This was to get the full potential of what Revizto can offer. I know this can be a big no-no for many designers, not to release their sheets, but the team agreed to do this for full collaboration to happen, and it will now form part of our requirements in the BET for future projects. Our design coordination reviews started with clash detection process. This was carried out within Navisworks and then importing the clashes into Revizto. However, this process will probably soon change with the introduction of Revizto Plus, which I'm sure Rhys and Lewis will cover after this presentation. We then went on to slab penetration and ground floor drainage reviews. Unfortunately, the civil engineers didn't model in 3D. So we pulled the 2D PDF drawings into Revizto, overlaid into the 3D model, and coordinated the penetrations through the slab. As this was our first project, we decided to implement a belt and braces approach and cover all of our bases by using the issue tracker within Revizto, but also exporting to PDF with intelligent links that link back to the Revizto environment. This was to capture our comments and communicate with the whole design team. Hopefully, Jonathan will demonstrate this shortly. Our next review was the external facade package. This is where we received the wow factor from the whole team. The navigation through the 1 to 200 sections, then into the 1 to 50 sections, and into the 1 to 5 details, and then overlaying these details onto a 3D model was a showstopper for all of the project members. I'll just go on to a few site progress photos. And again, following our software review, we chose HoloBuilder as our digital capture application. Here we can see some screen captures from HoloBuilder. One of the pictures showing on top right, the picture showing the swimming pool has been constructed and now being tested. And the SFS has started to be installed. So we got a capture from the model and a site capture, which was taken yesterday. Hopefully, John will now give a live presentation of these processes, showing the power of digital technology and what we are nurturing into Kier with digital by default. So hopefully go over to Jonathan now.
Can you guys see the 3D model?
Not yet. Not yet. It's still showing your PowerPoint screen, but I think it's about to come up. Another second or two.
Here we go.
Yep, that's there. We can see it.
Okay. Well, hello. As Russell has previously mentioned, the scheme that we will be showing today is a £65 million school project for Cardiff Council. We have several different models from the design team and subcontractors. We use Revizto to firstly federate all the models to be in one location, and secondly, to help ourselves and the design team to work more efficiently as an overall team. I'll be giving a brief overview of how we use Revizto here at Kier and demonstrate what we believe to be the major benefits of using this software. To navigate through the model, we use a few simple tools to quickly access the desired location of our own internal reviews. Using the scissor tool, we can cut through the model in either plan or section. The example I'm currently showing on screen illustrates how this tool can help our team to view ceiling voids. We also like to manually view individual rooms. So just This allows the team to walk through the room and see if there are any clashes or particular items that need to be reviewed. As you can see, there is a clash. We normally pick up the clashes by using a stamp tool. Depending on the discipline, we use different types of stamps. So currently now we're part of the BIM team, so we're using our BIM stamp. We filter the stamp, mark it for the design team, and normally write a little comment just illustrating what the clash could be. So clash between ceiling and duct, by the looks of it. These are normally stored in the issue tracker, which I'll come on to shortly. Just move the screen, I can't. Okay, so although currently, although currently we use Navisworks to do the brunt of the clash detection, we also like to use our own expertise to visually check the models. For example, if I'd like to review the structural and mechanical models, I can easily isolate just these models. This allows our project team to navigate through the certain areas of concern within the project, pick up any discrepancies and report them back to the design team for their review. As mentioned previously by Russell, for Kier and the whole design team to get the full potential out of Revizto, we need full access to view and review drawing packages. Once the members of the design team have imported their sheets, we can collaborate as a team to iron out any buildability comments we have raised. One of our first attempts at reviewing the drawing packages was to look at the penetrations through the concrete slab and to see if the holes coordinated with the SVP locations. Unfortunately, we had to manually bring in the PDF as the discipline didn't work in a 3D environment. Let's just go to the PDF. So once we brought the PDF into Revizto, we manually put it in the correct location. And now we can manually look at all of our issues. So we can zoom in and out and check our SVP locations with the sheets. So as you can see here, for example, we have an SVP marked up in this location, but currently it's by here. If I go to the issue tracker, I picked up a few issues before. So once we overlaid the PDFs into the Revizto model, we could start a review. It became apparent there were a few discrepancies. As the example shows on screen, the location of the SVPs and the penetrations within the concrete slab are in different locations. The design team manager reported these issues and got them raised. Another example of reviewing the drawing packages occurred a fortnight ago. Kier and the architect had a design review for the external facade. Just go to that. Bear with me 2 seconds. There's a lot of sheets in this model. We went through the sections firstly by showing the whole team where this section was in the model. So as you can see, once we overlaid the sheets into Revizto, we can show the whole design team where this section was taking place. We then went into the callouts, double-clicked, and it will also take us into the sheets that we can also bring into the 3D environment. Bear with me 2 seconds. So, as I was saying, we went through the sections in details and raised our concerns with the architect. As you can see, whilst reviewing the details, we raised a few comments. We filtered out these comments to be sent directly to the discipline that needed to resolve the matter, in this case, the architect, and we gave the architect a 2-week window to resolve these issues. After the meeting, we emailed an interactive PDF to the design team with all these issues raised. So we can send out individual PDFs to the design team via email. They can double click on the issue. And it'll take you straight to that for the architect or whoever to look at, to review. As well as doing our own visual clashes, we also imported Navis clashes into our Revizto file. These appeared in the issue tracker. As you can see, we have a few clashes to resolve. We can comment on these issues, raise it with the discipline associated to it, and give it a timescale to be resolved. Moving forward with Revizto at Kier, we would like to implement it across all projects. We believe that we are just at the tip of the iceberg with the capabilities of Revizto software, and we look forward to using the latest version of Revizto with clash detection tool in the future. Thank you for your time. I'll hand you back over to Justin.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. That's great, very detailed. That's great, you've stopped sharing your screen. So, Rhys, would you like to start sharing yours again?
I'll speak as Lewis will share his screen now, Justin.
Excellent. Okay, that's great.
Whilst we're firing up, I can see the questions coming through, and we'll address those at the end, which it's an interesting question, so thanks for those. Yep. Just a comment from me, and to pick up what Russell and John sort of alluded to there with, as of yesterday, we launched a brand new product, Revizto Plus, which includes clash automation. This is something that we've been working on in the background for the last 2 years. And all of this feedback, I'm pleased to say, is listened to by our development team. The tool itself is driven by what our clients are asking for. So I'm excited to announce you can now run clash detection directly within Revizto Plus. And I'll leave our local expert, Lewis, show you through that. So Lewis, with no further ado, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I'm going to show you through the features of Revizto Plus, show you the Revizto clash detection tool, and just kind of show you all the benefits of having this information all in one place, but also the benefits of the way in which we've built our clash detection tool, which has been built with the input of BIM coordinators, BIM managers. So what we have done is we've created a tool that actually is solving a problem in a way that industry experts, BIM coordinators, BIM managers actually wanted it to be solved. So it's a really powerful tool. It's in keeping with Revizto's kind of as easy to use as possible setup. So yeah, without further ado, I'll jump straight in and show you through this. So Revizto Clash is built entirely around cert sets. So within Revizto, we have the ability to create cert sets. We can create cert sets for models. We can create cert sets for specific data within the models. So I can pull out all the ducts, all the pipes, whatever it is that we want to do. And this is the fundamental sort of setup for how clash detection is working within Revizto. When we first started building the tool, we were not clear if we were going to go down the kind of the generic route of full models or the more detailed route of individual components. But as we continue to develop it and the tools that we built into our clash tool, it's made it clear that you can do either. You can go down the most generic option you want. You could just do all versus all, and then use our grouping tool to separate the issues out into really useful groups and things like that. And I'll show you all of these features as we go through this. So just going to close this down. And our clash detection tool here is just built into Revizto, so it's not a different version of Revizto. It's the same version, just built within. And then this is our clash gallery. This shows us all of the clash tests that we have. The key thing here is that Revizto is a collaborative environment, so you can have multiple people inside Revizto doing the same thing at the same time. And that also includes our clash automation tool that we've developed. So you can actually have multiple people within the project running clash detection, reviewing the results, sort of reviewing the grouping strategy, raising issues directly from it, all at the same time. So it is a truly collaborative clash automation tool. And in here, we've got some clash that are already being created, and I can see that I've got some of my colleagues are in here editing these at the moment, so they're doing their own thing, whilst I can go through now and start creating my own information as well. So I'll create a clash test, which is just using this button here. Let's just say webinar demo. And then we come into our selection that we'd like to choose. So I can open this one up. I'll go into my models, and then I can pick a cert set to use. I can do multiple, so we could do all models versus all, but in this case, I will just do the structural model versus the architectural model. No, structural model versus MEP model, sorry. So I can choose my cert sets here, and then we just say done. If I've already got different clash tests set up, we can actually inherit all the settings that we've implemented on those ones into our new clash test, which makes it really quick and easy to set up. In this case, I'm going to ignore that and just sort of set everything up from scratch. So within our clash detection tool, we have 5 main types of clashes that we can run. We've got our standard hard clash, which is does object A hit object B, which is a fairly standard option. We then have a clearance option, which allows you to put a zone around the components and clash with that zone. So if you want to make sure that there's enough spacing between ducts, making sure that there's enough spacing around equipment for people to move around it, you can add a clearance offset here. And we also understand that with clearances, depending on what you're actually using the clearance for, you may want to control the horizontal and vertical offsets separately. So we've actually incorporated that into the tool as well. So for example, if we've got a long spanning concrete slab and we want to make sure that we've got no sort of pipes or ducts directly below it, and to allow for some room for sort of displacement over the as the concrete sets, we can put in a vertical offset but leave the horizontal offset as 0. So it gives you lots of flexibility for different reasons for doing your clearances. And then we have the same for tolerance as well, so we can allow some objects to clash with each other, and again we can control the horizontal and vertical options separately. We've got the option to clash at an element or a geometry level, depending on what applications you're using. So this again allows for a lot of flexibility for all the tools that we work with to be able to be brought into Revizto and use them in whatever way you want to. We've got options for like ignoring clashes within the same model and ignoring duplicates. So things like this, it will be able to clear out issues if you've got, for example, a slab inside of a slab. And then a duct going through both slabs, it will only raise one issue, not both. You probably would want to raise that, but the option is there to ignore it if you need to. But these different clash options give you a lot of flexibility to do lots of different sort of functions with the clash detection tool. Going on to next. And this is really where the strength of Revizto Clash sort of comes into its own, is the fact that we have this inbuilt grouping tool. So when we run Clash, it's immediately grouping them into useful sort of bite-sized groups, rather than sort of having to run the clash detection and then manually reviewing them, manually grouping them, or separately running Clash grouping tools afterwards. So in here, we've got the option to group by. I can do my sort of selection A or selection B, so we can group by individual components. We can group by levels. We can group by grid intersections. This one is maybe less relevant for building projects, but a lot of our infrastructure projects where they've got roads and things like that, where they're using grids as chainages, this allows them sort of really good flexibility to start grouping based on segments of road. If the room data or the area data or the space data is brought in from your authoring tool, we can automatically group by that sort of information as well. So we can actually put all of the clashes inside one room into one group and so on. So this is really powerful for splitting the results down into really useful chunks. We have an option here, which is a zone as well. And this is kind of a new with Revizto 5.7 that came out last week. And this option here allows you to generate sort of extrusions within your authoring tools. So you can make, if you've got multiple buildings inside Revizto, or you might have, your building might be split into zones, you can create some extrusions that match those zones, bring those into Revizto and convert them into zones, and it will add that metadata to your issues as well. So you'll be able to group by building 1, building 2, building 3, building 4, for example. We've got one project, an arena project, that they're using it to quadrant off the arena, and they've used zones to do that, to add that information. So there's lots of sort of uses for zones. We can also use proximities. So if you don't have room data, or you don't have information that allows you to break it down into smaller chunks, or you want to take your room data and break it down even smaller, we can apply a proximity grouping, which will basically draw a sphere around a clash, and everything that fits inside of that sphere, it will group it together. So on here, you can specify kind of what size sphere you want. So it's just very easy to use. We also have a chainage option, so you can use that proximity, but it will keep adding to it as opposed to just one sphere, which again is very useful for different use cases. And then finally, we allow you to group by any property condition that exists within Revizto. So what that means is that any of the data that is embedded into the models when you export them into Revizto, you can start using that to form part of your grouping strategy. And this effectively gives you kind of almost unlimited grouping possibilities, because within Revizto, we can actually add custom data to the models, and you can use those custom data fields as well as part of your grouping if you wanted to. So for this example, I'm going to group by level. I'm going to group by room, and I'm going to add a property condition for element B, because that's my MEP model. And I'm going to type in here system abbreviation, and I'm going to use my system abbreviation as part of my grouping. So I can say OK to that one. Here we have the clash group name. So we can add free text in here. It's automatically generated the name based on the grouping that I've used. But I can add free text in here just to make it read a bit clearer. So we can say it's at level, in room, and then equals, and it will give us the system abbreviation. Within each group, all the clashes actually get given a name based on what's clashing. So rather than just being called clash 1, clash 2, clash 3, clash 4, the actual clash name will be the name of element A and the name of element B. And in the future, we actually plan on adding the property condition option here as well, so that you can pick and choose which data field it uses to form that name. So even more flexibility on getting the results out. So by doing this, it's going to automatically, when I run clash detection, it's going to automatically group the results for me. I don't have to do any of that work myself, which is really useful and saves a lot of time. We then come on to our issue automation. For those of you that are familiar with Revizto are probably familiar with stamps. Jonathan showed stamps and how they're using it within Kier. And then what you can do with our clash detection now is actually apply those stamps to the clash detection as well. So I can add a mechanical services, because on my structure versus MEP clashes, I know that the majority of the issues are going to be raised with the mechanical engineer as opposed to the structural engineer. So as a standard, I want everything to go to my mechanical services stamp, and that's going to automatically change the priority. I can change the assignee to Reese as he's in the call with us. And I can add more information here. I can add a deadline, so we can say that once this issue is raised, it needs to be resolved within 2 weeks. And that will automatically set the deadline for us in the issue tracker. I can add watchers, I can add tags. So yeah, we can add more tags if you need to, which is tags are used as like metadata to help filter out the results later on. So you can add as many of these as you want. Eventually, hopefully before the end of the year, we will actually have an advanced automation feature. And this advanced automation feature will allow you to use this as your standard sort of definitions. But then you'll be able to use rules that will allow you to assign things to different people. So for example, you'll be able to create a rule that says if the category equals duct, we can assign that to Reese. If the category equals pipe, we'll assign that to Russell. If it's in plant rooms, we can assign that to Jonathan. So there's lots of different ways that those rules will be able to use to help to speed up this process and make sure that the issues are automatically being assigned to the appropriate person with the appropriate priorities and all that kind of stuff. So the advanced automation will eventually allow you to do one-click clash detection, where you'll run clash detection and it will automatically raise the issues, push them all to the right people. It will automatically approve some issues. So you could approve issues that might have pipes that have a diameter of less than 100 mil. They could be automatically approved so that they don't actually appear in the issue tracker. So there'll be an awful lot of flexibility with the advanced automation once that's available, said hopefully by the end of the year. I can say finish to this one. This is our wizard that's helped us set up the clash detection. We haven't run the clash detection yet. We will do in just a minute, but down the right-hand side, we can see all of our settings again. So we can make any changes if needed. I can go in here. Oh, I've just noticed that I've chosen the wrong clash, so I can just go back in and change that one. We've also got kind of the view and screenshot settings. So in here, this allows you to sort of set the colors within your model. If you want to, for the clash detection, how it highlights the components, we can change that in here if we want to. We also have a third color available, which is for resolved and approved clashes. So if you've got a group of 50 issues, and then the next week you rerun class detection and 30 of them have been resolved. When you view that, it will show 30 of them as this kind of blue color, but it will show the ones that are still active and the ones that are still clashing as the standard like red and green colors. So it gives you a really good sort of visual indication of how the groups are getting on, whether or not they've been fixed or not, things like that. So that's going to be really useful. In here, we can define like the zoom factor, so how close or how far away we are from the clashes. Because I'm using room data as part of my grouping, I highly recommend looking at this option here, which is that the section box height is defined by neighboring levels. What that does is automatically take the top and bottom plane of the section box to the floor above and the floor below the clash. So you get a really nice amount of context when viewing the clashes. We can set different colors up in here if we want to. I'm not going to play around with any of that, but so all these settings allow you to sort of manipulate how the things look. We also have the option here where we can define which model we're using to define like the levels. So overall on the project, we're using an architectural file to define the levels. But because this clash test that I'm running here is a structural model, I might want to change that so we actually get SSLs and top of steels rather than sort of finished floor levels if I need to. In this case, I know that the models all have the same levels in them, so there's no need to do that, but it's just giving you that flexibility to control that if you want to. So what I can do now is I can run the class test. This is going to run through pretty quickly. I think it's going to do like 7,704 clashes. So, oh no, a few more this time. So I got a few more bits of information in this model. Completely different clash test. But what you can see here is that the actual generating of the results is really quick. We've actually had it on one of our biggest projects in the UK where we ran everything versus everything just as a test. And we actually generated 3 million results in 45 minutes. So it's a really quick tool to use. It can handle massive models. Revizto is very good at big data sets, and it can run through the class detection in no time at all. So in here, it's now given us the information for our class detection. So it's told us that it's generated 19,000 new clashes, but it's grouped them into 4,000 results. So straight away, it's telling me exactly how many groups are being created from the results, which is really useful because too often on projects, people report that the model's in a really good state. It's only got 100 clashes, but it turns out it's got 100 groups, and within those 100 groups, there might be 17,000 clashes, and it's not quite in as good a place as they make it out to be. So it's really useful that Revizto is highlighting all these numbers, so you actually get a true reflection of the project and understand how it's actually getting on. So in here now, we can go into class detection, and we can actually see the results. If I expand this out, we can see that the clash name is automatic, or the group name has automatically been called. So at level 7 in circulation space, and is FS, is DHW, is DCW. So we've got all the system abbreviations in here. So this is a good starting point. So we've now got all of our results, but we do still have 4,000 to review. So to make the process easier when it comes to reviewing this information, we've introduced filters to our results. So along the top here, we've got different options. So one option is by selection. So what I can do here is I can sort of bring up my object tree, and I can just type into here, let's just say mechanical equipment. I can do a search for that one. By selection, I can activate. Let me just select everything first. So by selection, if I activate that, what that's now doing is it's automatically filtering out the results to only contain clashes with the mechanical equipment. So if I isolate that one out, we can see those clashes now on the screen, and this is just mechanical equipment. I could change this. I could type in framing so we can get our steelwork up, and that's now going to automatically update and just show us the clashes with steelwork. So yeah, so it's very clear to be able to sort of just type in an object that you're looking for, and you can filter and you can see what's clashing with that information. You could also just select a single object, and if I click on that object in the model, it will automatically now filter the results out that are clashing with that single object as well. So the by selection filter, just really useful to pick and choose things. If I clear that out, we've also got an option to filter by search set. So bearing in mind that this clash test was created using the structural model and MEP model search set, I can now go into here and I can choose different search sets. So I could say, I'm having a coordination meeting this week and I've got my sprinkler team in there. I'd like to have a quick review of all the clashes involving sprinklers. So I've got a search set that I've already created that is for my sprinklers. I can just select that. And again, that's now going to automatically filter out the results. And it's now just showing me clashes with sprinklers. And then what I can then do is I can use other filters. So we can start filtering by level. So I can say, show me all the sprinkler clashes at ground level. And just by selecting that, it's now automatically filtered out my results. And we can now see that on the screen. So it's making it really easy for you to dig down into the detail and actually see immediately the results that are relevant for the teams that you're speaking with. You don't need to look through every single clash trying to work out, does this involve, sprinklers, or does this involve, level 1, level 2? It's easy enough to just filter out by using these options. What we can also do is we can add some more in. So we've got like the room data available in here as well. So I can filter by room. I can come in here and I can say informal student space. So I can then select all of that one. And now immediately I'm seeing all the informal student spaces at ground floor that are clashing with sprinklers. So it's super easy for us to get into that detail, to review this in ways that are going to make it easy for the rest of the team to resolve everything pretty quickly and pretty immediately. What I can do now is we can decide that we want to raise this as an issue. Let me just expand that out. So I can then select these clashes. So the ground floor and former student spaces, I can now mark these as reviewed. I can carry on going through and filtering more if I want to. But at this point, let me just kind of raise those issues. So we've now got the option to sync with the issue tracker. And by clicking this one, it's now asking us, do I want to just sync the 7 that we've reviewed or all the clashes that we've created on the project? So in this case, I'll just say the ones that I've reviewed. We can sync that into the issue tracker. That's now run through, that's now done that. As we go into the issue tracker now, we can now see the results here. So we can then start to review these. Again, with the way that Revizto works, as Jonathan Russell sort of said, that everything we do in Revizto is connected in the 2D to 3D spaces. So at the moment, we've got a screenshot. Let's just see if there's an interesting clash. Let's take this one. So I can go to the 3D space now and we can review that in 3D. We can spin that around. I can turn the model on so that we can start to see it and see how it looks. But also what we can do is we can then jump to our 2D drawing and we can see exactly where this clash is on a 2D drawing. In this case, it's not chosen a very good one. Let's just go to this one. So now I can see exactly where that clash exists within a 2D drawing. And if, just go back here, I can open that up and then we can see where each of the 2 clashes are as well. So we can actually separate it down. So if you've got your group, you can easily review the individual clashes within them. And then this is now live. So as you can see here, Reese is now adding comments to this issue. So everything is live and everything can be reviewed kind of on the fly. So everything's just really easy to work with. If I go back into my clash tool now, I might decide that my grouping that I've generated for this project isn't quite right. So we can change this. I'm going to get rid of the mechanical system abbreviation and just group by level and room. We can just regroup that. And that's now regrouped all that information again live for us, but leaving behind the ones that have already been pushed to the issue tracker. So on here, we can see the 7 that we pushed into the issue tracker. These are now locked and controlled there, but everything else has been regrouped. And so I can review this in different ways. I'm just going to show you quickly in this clash here. I'm going to manually force this to happen, but let's pretend I've rerun my clash detection and these issues now have been resolved. I'm approving them because I'm manually doing it. But then when you view the clash, what you now get is you get that 3rd color option where you can immediately see which ones have been fixed versus which ones are still open. So it's just making life a lot easier for that whole coordination process, saving a lot of time and just making it easy to review the information without having to spend too much time trying to figure that sort of stuff out. So going back to kind of the comments that Reese made at the beginning about there's always multiple different tools being used on projects, and how Jonathan sort of talked about, like, you want everything in one place because the team can engage with it really well if they're seeing everything in one place and don't have to keep jumping around. What we've done with Revizto is now made it kind of the tool that can bring in like all the files from all different locations. You can then run the class detection directly within it. You can share that information, and then within our issue tracker, or even just within the class detection tool, we then have that direct switchback functionality, which allows you to get back into your original models to get in there and actually fix the problems as well. So it just makes that whole process a lot more connected. It's not multiple tools anymore. It's one tool that can do an awful lot of the processes that are being used on most projects. And then you can review that with the teams really quickly, really easy using these filters. So everyone gets a really good experience of fixing clashes, and they get resolved a lot quicker because it's a lot easier for people to understand what's going on. So what we're trying to do is answer the problems that, again, Reese and Jonathan and Russell raised. Is you want it to be as easy as possible. You want it to be all in one place, and that's what we're trying to achieve with Revizto. So yeah, that's an overview of our clash detection tool. I've made that last about 15 minutes, but in reality, when you come to create a clash test, it's a 30-second task to do. I can just create one more. I can just come in here and we can just say, let's just do the architectural model versus the through the MEP model. We can just say arc versus MEP. I can say done. I can do this one. I can carry on. Just going to come here, add grouping by level and by room. Next, again, we can add the automation if we want to, and say finish, and then I can update that. And that's now my class detection done. And I know that it's going to do all that grouping and everything for me as part of that process. So by describing it, it's a 15-minute task. Without describing it and just running through the process, it's literally 30 seconds to do, but it's doing everything that you need it to do. So you've got the results immediately to look at in a way that's useful for you and the wider team. So yeah, that's that part. So
fantastic, thanks, Lewis. So I think, yeah, just to reiterate, Lewis covered quite a lot then in a short amount of time. We're obviously trying to allow you to automate a lot of these processes, which you'll still need to do, but you'll be able to do them quicker and more efficiently because everything is in one place. So hopefully you could see the benefits there, and that was useful for you all. I can see a number of questions have come through on the chat log, which I've done my best to try and type quickly. So maybe now is a good time to answer those questions if we can. Justin,
yep, sure. If you want to stop sharing the screen, I know it's 64% there, but that's great. And we'll just get this back up. Get our Q&A up. There we go. So as you say, yes, we've had quite a few questions. So let's, I know you've answered some of those already.
Yeah, there's some I've answered that may just need a little bit more explanation. So if you want, I can run through the ones I've answered. And
yes, do you want to tackle those ones? And I know there's some that need some input from Kier as well.
Yeah, so thanks, Russ. I could see you've been. So the first one really was around implementation and training. And for a company the size of Kier, getting everybody that is going to use Revizto trained up is obviously a large task in itself. So part of the engagement, Lewis has been working with Andy Bootle and Russell and others regionally that sort of lead the teams to identify champions and ensure they're up to speed with Revizto, for us to understand their workflows around where data is coming from. Again, that's 2D, 3D, and provide project-based training. So we see these as partnerships where myself and my team are available to our clients to ensure they're getting most value out of Revizto. So Russell and his team have really started to take off, I guess, Ross John, right, in Wales, which is great, which is because that's where I am. And we're seeing a lot of project teams, the design teams engage with Revizto really, really quickly from Jonathan and Russell's overview sessions with them. So I don't know whether Russell, John, you can give a bit more detail on how Fitzallen, for example, how that went and how you got the designers to share information, including drawings, which was one of the other questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, we implemented Revizto onto the Fitzallen project. Myself and Jonathan gave the design team and our own Kier team a brief overview and a training session of what can be achieved out of Revizto. We then went back to Reese and Lewis who then gave a project-specific hours training session on the project, which was received very well. And then we just continually support the guys on site, with Jonathan continually on like a local support line, and going down to site once a week, helping the guys out on site with it.
Excellent. And it's a continuing process for us, right? So, you know, I guess it's fair to say that you're using less of our time now as you and John become
As our knowledge, yeah.
And that's what we want, right? Is when we see this sort of step back, and it's an organic process, and then our clients, partners become more advanced users, and we're here to help and support. But more importantly for us is listen to what they want from the technology, and then do our best to help make this quality of life improvements. Another good question. I'm just going to flick up my screen if I can to answer that one. So it's always people see the name Revizto, which actually means visual check in Latin. So I don't know whether you need to give me permission again to share my screen, Justin, but just to
Sure, yeah, I can do that. Let me stop sharing and you can share yours.
Perfect. So if I come here, so one of the first things I mentioned was interoperability. So let me ensure you can see this slide. Can you see that, our compatibilities?
Yep.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the Revizto has got nothing to do with Revit. We support a wide range of file formats. So we have direct plugins for Archicad, which was one of the other questions, Tekla, Civil 3D, MicroStation, Vectorworks. So what that means is in one environment, we can have a wide range of file formats. Our clients are using various flavors of authoring tools. So we can combine point clouds as well and 2D documentation. There's lots of reality capture data that's been captured by our clients like Kier. So I know, Russ, you're bringing in some of the Matterport data as well. So in short, we can bring in pretty much everything you can see on the screen and more from experience, and you're viewing all of that on one platform.
If I could just interrupt you for a second, Reese. One of the key benefits of all these plugins were actually our subcontractor, our steel manufacturer, is using Tekla. And traditionally, he would send out his model via an IFC file to the architect. And the problems that we had on our job was the architect couldn't pinpoint that IFC into the correct location because they use different shared coordination systems. So when we brought our Tekla model from that discipline into Revizto, it overlaid in the correct location. So the architect now is reviewing the subcontractor's model and drawings in Revizto instead of bringing it into his own Revit file.
Perfect, thanks, John. It's always good to hear it from yourself. So to sort of just extend on that point a little bit, because I think it's a really good question. In this particular project, you can see I've got RCPs, Vectorworks, DGNs, IFCs that Lewis has kindly set up for me. So I've not had to touch any of the technical tools. The project's been set up here for me to review everything in Revizto. And just to touch on that point a bit further, if I come to my 2D documentation, another question I'd like to answer is we can bring in PDFs here. So we can just import them. We can extract them directly from the authoring tool, which was another question, or pull them in from a number of CDEs. So, we have direct integration with Procore, Box, BIM 360 Docs, and we're working with others as well. But I just want to show you this particular drawing sheet, which has come through from Revit. If I click on this green icon, which has been set up for me automatically, that will now overlay that 2D document on a model and a scan of this mechanical plant room that needs to be reconfigured. So for the first time, we've got 3 levels of information here: point cloud, model, and drawing, all in one place then to review should we need to, using our stamps, as the gentleman mentioned. So maybe this mechanical layout isn't going to work, so I put down my stamp, position that there. I double click on the blue box and that will take me directly to any of the authoring tools that I'm using then to go and fix that particular issue. So what else do we've got? Max, we support Max, yes. Thanks, Russ and Reece, very impressive. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. We've got a few. Are there any questions that I've missed that you guys have seen there that you think would be good to raise now?
That's those. Shall we go through the ones that I think Russell?
Yeah, I
has
think
already
I've
given
answered
some
most
answers
of them.
to.
I might have just missed the odd few out.
Yeah, I would. If you want to talk about those out loud, so the key criteria in Kier's review of collaboration software, aside from the data residency.
Yeah.
So at Kier, we had like the BIM managers, BIM coordinators, approximately 25 people representing the BIM side of the business. We had several presentations from different software vendors. And then we had a scoring mechanism in place, which captured items such as the user interface, the operability, data residency, what software support the companies could offer, ease of functionality, and so on. And that's how we chose it. We just had a scoring mechanism in place. And a group of, it wasn't decided by one person, it was a group of approximately 25 people to decide what way we were going forward.
Yeah, okay. And obviously you are early on in the project, but are there any measurable cost, time, quality benefits? Or is that something?
Not really at the moment. It's just the only measurable thing we got is the take up of it. So the design team members are really engaging with it, and our internal Kier team love it basically. So at least we got a take up on, people are using the software. That's our only measurable at the moment.
Yeah, okay. And have we covered off so there was the question from Liam Murphy, how will the system work where you might have design team members who will not release sheets?
We have had a few reluctancies, but after a little presentation of what we use it for, we've got to remember the deliverable, the contract deliverable, the PDFs that are issued to the DMS. The sheets within Revizto are only there for a collaboration and to help the process. We're not building from the sheet files. We can't do anything with them. We can't add to them. Everything's stuck within the Revizto environment. So after a simple presentation and just a little workshop with them, they've realized that releasing their sheet files isn't a problem.
Okay.
But I think it will become, we've got 2 clients now on board, and it's in their terms of appointment that we will use Revizto, and sheet files must be uploaded with the models. So the clients are getting on board as well, forcing us to make these changes or the wants out of the design team.
Okay. And Reece, any thoughts on that one?
Absolutely. I think I put my 2 cents in there, but this is a collaborative process, and as Ross mentioned, nothing can be changed or edited in Revizto. It's merely the mechanism to collaborate and ask one another questions. So Russell would raise a comment on a drawing sheet that would need an amendment. You raise that task in Revizto, and then that's assigned to one of the design team that are then taken directly to where that sheet is in their authoring tool with the 3D information there as context, which just makes the process easier and leaner for everybody. One of the other questions I just wanted to address, if that's okay, is,
of course,
is Revizto Plus available? So the short answer, as I put, is yes, as of today. So we're really excited, and what you've seen there is only the second public presentation that we've given. So if you would like to try Revizto for yourself, then there's an opportunity to do that. All you need to do is just send, if you have a contact at Revizto, get in touch with those, or send me an email and I can connect you with my team to help. So I don't know if my details will be shared afterwards, Justin, or I can put that into the chat log for people to capture.
Put that into the chat. And indeed, Liam Murphy has also asked, stated he'd like some cost information and how the charges are spread. He's put his email address in there, so you might want to capture
any
that.
questions. My email is in there now, so we'd love to hear your feedback. If you want any more information or would like to try using Revizto yourself, then just drop me an email. Russ has been through this process. I think it's probably fair to say, well, Russ and John, it's only when you start using the technology you realise the benefits. But yeah, thank you for listening.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we're
Excellent.
only just scratching the surface of what Revizto can offer. We wanted to try and engage all the teams first of what their everyday work does, and then we can go further into Revizto of what all the pluses it can offer then.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we've addressed as many questions as we can in the time that we've got. So thank you very much to all of you, Russell, Jonathan, Rhys, and Lewis, and thank you to Revizto for sponsoring this session. As I said earlier, this webinar will be available on demand via the original registration link and on the event website, digitalconstructionsummit.uk. Editorial coverage of this session and the previous sessions in the summit will appear on constructionmanagermagazine.com and bimplus.co.uk. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day.